customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DiJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you are a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution podcast with John DiJulius. This week, John talks with Joel Sylvester, Chief Client Officer for 5-Star Call Centers. With over 20 years of crafting exceptional customer experience under his belt, Joel has an unsurpassable passion for customer service. In this episode, you'll learn the evolution of contact centers, how AI can help your company be more efficient, especially during the Great Resignation era, how every company has to be successfully managing their omni-channels, how every employee should be delivering ACT, and what Joel will be presenting at the 2022 Customer Service Revolution Conference. Now here's your host, John DiJulius.
Hello, revolutionaries, and welcome to another episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast. I am John DiJulius, Chief Revolution Officer of the DiJulius Group, and I am so excited today to be talking to Joel Sylvester, Chief Client Officer of 5-Star Call Centers. Welcome, Joel.
Thanks, John.
Where does this podcast find you today?
Sioux Falls, South Dakota is the headquarters of 5-Star. So yeah, we are right in the Midwest. You know, I know people say Ohio, where you are, is Midwest, but that's like Eastern Midwest. We are really Midwest.
All right, good. And has the weather changed? It's still not like negative 40 degrees there, is it?
Great here, 70 degrees. It's awesome.
Awesome. I've been there. It's awesome. It's beautiful. And I'm excited, Joel, because you bring a level of expertise and your company brings a level of expertise that is so critical today. And it's the evolution of our contact centers, support centers, call centers, whatever name someone may give them. And I also think with the Great Resignation that we're all experiencing, a lot of the things that you are an expert on is really going to address and help. So before we get into all that, you have an incredible history of being in customer service and in banking and healthcare and manufacturing and all that. Tell our listeners a little bit about Joel and how he got to where he is today as the Chief Client Officer of 5-Star Call Center.
Yeah, so I've been in the contact center industry for 25 years, which plain and simple, when I started, it was a call center. There was no other way to communicate with anybody other than phone. And it was a lot of landline. You know, I've been doing it, that long that even the cell phone piece of it, has evolved a little bit from that end of it. So I started
one of the best things I heard, well, not best things, but sadly, a good description of, I hope it's the outdated call centers, it's the modern day white collar sweatshops, right? And, staring at a cube or a wall with no windows and nothing changes, even the questions you get asked. So I'm sure you've seen that, completely, the good and the bad.
Yeah. Again, 25 years ago, everything you needed to make a phone call for, to change an address, you had to either fill out a piece of paper and fax it, or you had to call. So that's what it looked like, 25 years ago. I've had contact centers in 17 different states throughout the United States, Guam, Mexico, the Philippines, Canada. So I've kind of had a chance to watch the evolution, and it really has been great. You talk about, John, the halogen lighting or the flickering fluorescent lighting. Nowadays, a majority of this is done in beautiful buildings because people know that they need to invest in it, or they're working from home. Even before the pandemic, people had started moving to work at home. And then obviously there had just been a huge push, and the technology exists to allow it to happen. And I've always said, a happy team member, is really going to provide that world-class customer care that you want. And we are finding customer care agents that are from all walks of life. So, retirees that are working at home, people that are, staying home with kids, people that are taking care of spouses. And I hear it every day from my team members across the country that their ability to help customers combined with what they're able to do with the rest of their life makes them want to just really provide that customer service and the revolution that you've talked about for years.
Yeah. And so tell us, our audience, about 5-star call centers and what their place in the world is today for customer service.
Yep. So we're a business process outsourcer, and we really focus on a variety of different industries: financial services, healthcare, retail, technical support, hospitality. And a few reasons why that really works out for us is it allows us to put agents and team members where they're the best fit. Some people's brains are just wired in such a way that they fix things. That's a great technical support, account. Some people are really good at explaining things, getting additional information, maybe selling. So we do that. Plus, it allows us to really gather best practices. Our retailers, the margins are so tight and the competition is so fierce that retailers were the first ones to, allow things like online ordering and online shipping. But now other industries are starting to need that. Healthcare, think of telemedicine, think of the ability to do things remotely. And we're able to really share those best practices. Again, I said I started my career in contact centers. At 5-star, we're about 60-40 voice right now, as opposed to 10 years ago, we were probably like 95-5. So about 40% of our interactions are non-voice. So that's chat, that's ticketing, that's email, web app or mobile app support. And, but really the truth of the matter.
You guys do the website attendant that will pop up, and will that both be AI as well as when it needs to be a live person?
Yeah. So online chat, it really kind of started back in the 2000s, and nobody did it because people didn't have mobile phones. They had to sign on their computer, bong, 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 the old, dial up. But then really during the pandemic, it really took off because everybody was online, high-speed internet was there. And as you build a customer service process and you go through and you put together the things, the tools that, whether it's an agent, a person sitting at a desk or at home and doing a process and helping, you put a good person in the seat and you give them a good process and they're going to be successful. And the companies that build those processes for those agents to be successful we're able to now help utilize AI. So chatbots, that chat comes in and it can be identified what they're asking for. We do a lot of things in staffing now with the great resignation, people switching jobs, staffing, the gig economy is becoming big. And, if a person puts into a chat, when am I getting paid? How much will it be? And what account will it go into? That's all sitting in a CRM somewhere that can be pulled out and easily delivered. There doesn't need to be human interaction. The nice thing is it's immediate. So the customer doesn't have to wait. It's accurate because it's taking it directly from the fields as far as that goes. And it's secure because there's, just that direct connection. There's not, a third party there. The same thing for voice. Some of the automated attendants have really become robust, and the things that you can do. And the thing that I always say is that let the automated processes that you can put in place help those customers with simple solutions. So trained customer service agents can handle the more complex. I don't ever see us getting to where everything can be handled, by a chat bot or by an automated attendant or artificial intelligence. And we're a long, long ways away from that. But if someone can handle if those automated services can handle the easy stuff, it can free up the agents to be able to assist with the more difficult, complex needs.
Yeah. And so to unpack, because you said a lot of great stuff, and I don't know if your 5-star call centers experience, you say right now you're handling 60% voice which is over the phone,
Yep.
and 40% omni-channel, which encompasses all those other digital, chat, all those different things. Is that safe to say? Well, I guess it's depending on what industry, but what's happening out there?
Really depends on the industry, but that's getting to be pretty close. The industry's probably flipped the other way, about 60% non-voice and 40% voice. But but again, 10 years ago, it was 90-10. And part of it, John, is the lack of workforce. So some of these things are mandatory, as well as consumers are willing to do it, right? Consumers have their cell phones with them 24/7. They can enter a chat or an email or an app response, and then they can go along, their lives, and they can get that response back and forth. It wasn't that many years ago that people complained, "Oh, my screen's too small. I can't do anything with this."
Right.
We've just adapted, right? People have learned to.
And websites, I believe, are more mobile friendly than they were 15, even 5 years ago. And, you said it yourself. This was all coming. The pandemic didn't change anything. It just accelerated everything. And so now we were forced to go into using this. And even the generations that were technology resistant had to get on board over the past 2.5 years.
One of the things I like to refer back to is that, we've all heard that necessity is the mother of invention, right? Needing something is what makes you invent something, but desperation is the mother of adoption. And that's what the pandemic really did is people were, for lack of a better word, desperate to get a hold of their healthcare provider, to get a hold of their bank, to get a hold of all of these different things. So people worked through some things that they were maybe putting off or didn't want to do. And now that they've done it a couple times, but we're kind of forced to, it's becoming kind of their new normal from that end of it. Even talking to an automated attendant or going through chat, those things, people are just starting to become the new normal.
And, what you're talking about to a lot of people, definitely years ago, to maybe a small percent still, is the dark side, right? And you're talking about a couple of things, right? Artificial intelligence and bots, deservedly so, had a bad name because they weren't, efficient and good at the first generations. But we got a couple things here, and I'm going to try to make these questions. We have the artificial intelligence world that everyone is so scared of. And even if you don't read my latest book, The Relationship Economy, people tend to think I am, against artificial intelligence and technology. And that's the opposite. I love technology, almost to a fault. But like you said earlier, we have to marry, the technology to do the repetitive, mundane tasks that actually, as a consumer, I prefer to do in 2 seconds. Like Apple's great for that. My computer, my phone needs to be repaired. I can go on Apple and within 90 seconds, have an appointment booked at the closest Apple store and be done. And the thought of calling is just daunting. Like, I don't want to get in the phone tree maze. But then when I need to go and speak to, the repairman, the concierge, and tell them, and whine about how, I need this repaired ASAP, they're there, they fix it, they educate me. And that's exactly what it is. So I want to address the AI, because the AI is so critical. And you talked about, everyone's asking me, how do we solve this great resignation? Well, I think there's a couple things. One, there is a reckoning coming, and I think we've started with it. And the great resignation will probably turn into the great layoff, and the work from home may turn into unemployed from home. But we could be 6 to 18 months. And I'm not hoping for any of that, but there is a great reckoning. But how do you do the same or more with less? Sales are up in a lot of businesses, but service is down. So yes, we do have to go to the AI side that could take the mundane. And there's a couple things to this, and I'm telling you something here, I know, but I want to take the mundane tasks off, the mind-numbing tasks off my contact center, which gives them no job satisfaction.
Yep.
And get that. So now I don't need as many contact center people as I had before. And then they can build the relationship, which is more job satisfaction. So I don't know what I said there as a question, but this is what you're great at. This is what 5-star call centers are great at. go ahead and expand on that, or tell me if I'm off.
Yeah. No, I always say it's the 80-20 rule. I remember hearing the 80-20 rule when a person was talking 30 years ago, and it just seems to be right that 80% of the problems can be solved with 20% of the knowledge. And so that's what you automate, right? Is whatever the 80% of the questions that only need 20% of the knowledge.
Frequently asked questions.
Asked questions, appointments, amounts, changes. And again, the smartphones these days, whether it's an Android or an Apple, or, you can text somebody a link, they can click on it, and with 1, 2, 3 things, they can get all the information they need. They don't have to hold.
Where's the most recent update? All those things.
Yeah. The biggest area where we're still seeing that need for true contact is when something goes horribly wrong, right? Healthcare, we need to get something more specific than just a generic appointment. Hospitality, I'm traveling and I'm not going to be there when I'm supposed to be. I'm actually going to I need to go to a different city at a different time or a different place. Technical support, I bought this, I read the manual, I did everything the way I was supposed to, but I'm still having, something go wrong there. But the other thing is, again, we're a BPO, business process outsourcer. For years, outsourcing, I think, was kind of, seen as...
Well, that was my next thing that I was going to go. The dark side was the two things, the artificial intelligence. And I've always been a critic of why would you outsource anything when it's hard enough to get the people under your own roof to do it. So Joel, tell our listeners why outsourcing is not so dangerous today.
Yeah. The reason you think it's tough, John, is because you live customer service, right? And a lot of the industries that we work with, they're engineers that have created great products. And being an engineer is not always consistent with providing world-class customer care, right? These engineers, if they build something and you can't use it, they get mad at you, right? Because they're the engineer. There's the one that invented it. So the fact that outsourcers, for us, all we do is customer care, whether it's building AI platforms or whether it's doing voice or omni-channel, that is all we do. So we've made the investments in recruiting and training and engagement and all the softwares that go along with those things, speech analytics, the different learning software, whether it's an LMS, whether it's a knowledge base, all of those types of things that because all we do is customer service, we can invest in all of those things. And we work with a lot of companies who are experts in their industries, building software, building hardware, managing hotels, managing banks. That's not always consistent with really trying to provide that world-class customer care. And in today's world, with not enough employees and the great resignation, having an expert like ourselves that know how to automate and what to automate and how to build processes and how to build training can allow people to focus on their core competencies and what they really do best. And if you can't find enough people to do what you're great at and what you really need to do, it's even more difficult to try to find, that piece of it. And the fact that we're in different industries, so we can take that, round peg and find that round hole for them really allows us to do that as well. The other thing is I started one of the first financial services call centers in the Philippines. Like this was back in 2000, so a long time ago. And things have evolved a long ways. And, we're seeing groups in, nearshore Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Mexico, that have really over the last 20 years embraced customer service, great work ethic. They've really focused on the infrastructure. A lot of them started teaching English in the public schools 25 years ago. And so we're able to bring all of those different types of things together from them. But the other thing is a lot of industries these days, they spike. Hospitality, very busy during the summer when everybody's traveling. Retail, very busy during the fourth quarter when people are buying holiday presents. And that's one thing that we're able to do is because we have different customers, we can kind of follow those spikes, but keep team members that are trained, that are dedicated to customer service, where if you're trying to do it in-house and you have to hire 25 seasonal temps, that used to be able to be done. It's very, very difficult to do today.
Are you ready to meet John, the DiJulius Group team, and your favorite podcast guests in person? Register now for the Customer Service Revolution Conference. Visit customerservicerevolution.com for tickets and details.
Yeah, and Joel, how we met is we share some clients, a lot of clients, and the reason why you're on this call and speaking at this year's Customer Service Revolution is because our shared clients just rave about the work you do, and I should have opened with that. And we view you as one of the leading authorities on this topic. So, Joel, the 5-star call centers, it appears you do two primary things. I want to understand if they are independent or if they're. I know they're certainly complementary, but you can bring artificial intelligence and technology to a business model, and obviously you can outsource. You could be their outsource contact support, call center, whatever we may call it. Can someone use you just for one or the other, or do they have to be both? So let's say I love my contact center. I don't want to outsource it, but can I bring in 5-star call centers to help bring in the technology back to what we were talking about, the mundane tasks, free up so I don't have to have as many bodies in there?
Yeah, you absolutely can. In fact, one of our shared partners in the healthcare space came to us years ago just for technology, just wanted us to do the automated appointment setting piece of it. And then as we kind of started the holistic conversation of, well, how does that process work? What is your scripting? What is this? They did end up saying, well, if you guys are the experts at doing the voice contact center, you might as well do that as well.
Yeah.
But absolutely, we will do one. I will tell you, most of the time it does end up morphing into, as long as you're doing this, whatever, but we're happy to assist with either one. But it really is a holistic view. And then that's something that we want to look at. And
but I also want clients and listeners to understand that you can certainly help, because I believe everyone needs help today with using artificial intelligence in all the areas that we spoke, even if they're happy with keeping their contact center under that roof or vice versa. But and then let me ask you this, because it is the same. How do you train your call center representatives? And maybe this is a great question for someone who's going to still has to do it on their own, to have that empathy where every question I get asked today is the exact same, and it gets mundane, it gets repetitive, it gets, mind numbing. What are some tricks and tips that you've done to keep your representatives engaged, and that their 100th call of the day doesn't sound like their 100th call of the day?
Yeah. So, we call it ACT, which is attitude, A for attitude, C for connection, and T for thank. And it all starts with hiring that right person, hiring that person that wants to do this, that is passionate about customer care, that wants to solve problems. I will tell you, John, during the Great Resignation, during the pandemic, I have had more team members come to me and say, man, I just appreciate the chance to help out. Because in today's world, there's so many things that are out of our control that if you can be on the phone or in a non-voice capacity, you can help 100 people a day. I mean, I consider myself to be pretty helpful, and I couldn't help 100 people a day. It's just not, but in this environment, you can. And I can't tell you how many times I've met spouses or coworkers that have said, you know what, my spouse came home and they'd help this person. So it all starts with that attitude. Hire the right person that wants to do this. In some organizations, the people that end up doing customer service or taking phone calls are just the least busy. Well, yeah, it might be least busy for a reason, right? And I know you and I have talked about that if they're not outstanding at their job, they might not be very busy. So that's it. It all starts with attitude. We find people that have that attitude to serve. They want to provide that connection. Put together a process that allows the agent to connect with the customer. Sometimes that's using artificial intelligence. So instead of me having to ask your name, what's your account number, all that gets handled, right? The technology takes care of it. So I can immediately say, John, thanks for calling again.
Yeah. So I'm assuming what you're talking about here is, when the phone rings, it opens up to my screen and you see it's John DiJulius from Cleveland and the DiJulius group, and we can hit the ground running instead of asking me all those annoying questions.
Yep.
Again, your account number and all that.
Yep. So put a person with a great attitude in the position, give them the technology to, it pops up based on your calling number. I'm thinking my hotel reservations, right? If you've got a reservation for tonight and you're calling, I'm pretty sure you're not calling just to say, hey, want to make sure there's something going on.
Flight's delayed.
Exactly. So I can literally, hey, John, I see you're booked to stay with us in Sioux Falls, tonight. What's going on? And you immediately think of how at ease you are, John, right? Instead of having to, what's your name? What's your reservation number? All that kind of stuff. So attitude, connection, and then thank. And, Harvard has done all kinds of different studies on when you thank a person that connects you, kind of forever, but find a way to be able to thank that customer. And our agents, we challenge them to have, world-class thank yous, that, hey, John, I hope the rest of your travel goes great. Thanks for calling us today. But if you make every interaction starting with a great attitude, a process to connect, and a process to thank, even though you do it 100 times, it's great. And one of the most fun parts of my job, John, is when I'm going in and I'm talking to clients and they're trying to put together a customer service process, is to start to see them thinking, what kind of attitude, what kind of attitude do your customer service agents have today? Sometimes it's very good. Sometimes it's not. And you can look at that. How do you connect with your customers? Well, they walk in the door. Okay, well, how can we improve on that, right? How can we script that? I know with some of your customers, you make sure that it's the same greeting every single time, right? The same experience, the always and nevers. And so that's that connection. And that's when it really gets fun. And that's even when you're using AI or if you're using any of this type of stuff. How do you connect with your customer? How can you make that special? And then how can you thank them? Because they're your customer. They're the reason you have a job. They're the reason that you're able to do what you want to do. So that's kind of our process that we always go through. And it's been really fun over the years to have partners really get involved in, oh, man, they're like, man, I never thought of thanking my customers. It's like, well, maybe that's something you want to, try to implement into your process.
Yeah, no, I love it. Attitude, connect, and thank. And the way you explained it is fantastic. And Joel, you brought up about the benefits of nearshore and offshore, and I'm going to have some links in the show notes. And I think you go into it very well in the 5-star call center state of customer service. I think 2022, the state of customer service. So I'm going to have that in there, as well as 5 stars website, as well as your LinkedIn, so people can connect with you. What can our attendees look forward to for what you're going to be presenting on in November at our Customer Service Revolution conference in Cleveland?
Yeah, we've built hundreds of customer service processes focused on the call center. And so what we're going to really talk about is the pillars of that of building a world-class customer care. So there's the technology piece, which we're going to touch on. It's the staffing piece, the training piece, the support piece, and then my favorite, the process improvement. That, without question, you get a process off the ground, customer service process, and within days or weeks. In today's world, John, data is everything, right? And the advantage, if you're doing it right, you're using technology right, you can identify, why are people calling? And, the best customer service interaction, I always say, never had to happen. Right? That if I go to the website and it just is right there. So, and those are really you can start to gather that information. If every call is tracked on why they called. We had a partner that they had one particular product that they manufactured that had a 60% defect rate. And all of the calls were about that. We were able to quickly identify it. They were able to reach out to the manufacturer, change the way that this one thing was done, and it was immediately a game changer. So that's the process improvement. So again, it's the technology, the staffing, the training, the support, and then the process improvement. So those are our 5 pillars of a call center, customer service, contact center process. And we're going to walk through each one of those. I guarantee everyone who will walk out of there will have at least a handful of ideas that they can implement immediately, or at least go back. A lot of times people will go back and say, I don't know what we do to thank. What do we do to thank? And sometimes people are like, hey, I guess we're doing a better job than I thought. I just didn't know. So it just kind of brings that awareness.
So who should come and hear you speak? Anyone running or that has a contact center, call center, support center? Am I missing any names in that regard?
Yeah. If you ever receive a call or an email or a text or a chat, I can help you. And I think there will be some things. Again, I've done it for 25 years. So if nothing else, I've made every mistake, in the sun. So I can tell you what not to do. But literally any business that has their customers that contact them, a lot of the stuff that we do even does go into the brick and mortar, right? I mean, if someone why wouldn't every person have a good attitude, work on a connection, and think? I mean, that isn't isolated to the phone, right? It's face to face, click to click, or ear to ear. I mean, a lot of stuff that you're saying, it applies to any type of interaction that you may have. Yep.
And Joel, will you be talking about how companies can use and implement AI bots and all that? Because I think that's huge in our audience.
That's really the technology piece.
Okay,
that there's the technology of how calls come in, and even we talked about it a little bit earlier, John, using your CRM, right? People are spending millions of dollars on Salesforce or on Sugar or on NetSuite, all these different CRMs that are loaded with these fields that have all the information you need. You just have to use it. Right. And you either need to use it for AI to be able to do a chatbot, or be able to use an agent assist, or be able to do a virtual agent, or you need to use it to pop. Agents. So
does 5-Star work and integrate with different CRM systems?
Yeah, we probably integrate with about 20 different CRMs today. So the good news, and I'm not a tech guy, but I have 8 developers. So I
But you slept at a Holiday Inn last night.
Yeah, exactly. But the truth of the matter is they're all set up with the fields that we need. It's just you just need to use them, right? The information is sitting there for you. And with all the APIs today and the data transfers, it's easy. Again, I'm not tech, but it's easy to get to. You just have to go get it.
100%. I was talking to a potential client yesterday, and we were talking about, what are their KPIs that they track. And I said, well, why can't we run a report on, I said, do you know your customers, your new customers that's coming in this month, what percentage are repeats, referred, or new? And he goes, no, we don't have the sophisticated technology. I go, when someone calls up or however you acquire them, do you ask for that? Yeah, we ask. I said, that's a report, right? That's a report that you do have the most basic CRM system can run that report and say, of the 100 clients we got in whatever period time frame, 30% were referred, and the remainder was advertising. Now how another KPI. So there's so many things that people don't even realize is a report. And especially as you mentioned, if you go into a sophisticated like Salesforce, it's mind-boggling. Now, what I don't know is, can you have that automatically run for you every Monday, a report like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. No problem. So, and I've been doing this long enough that I remember where you do a data export to Excel.
Yes.
And then you do a pivot table, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that stuff it's super. In fact, a lot of technology people within organizations love to do that kind of stuff. So when you go to them and you're like, hey, can you pull a report? They're thrilled someone's asking,
right?
And they're able to show off kind of what they can do. Yeah. So that is a very easy piece of the puzzle these days.
This is awesome, Joel. I'm so excited that you are not only on this podcast, that our attendees are going to get to hear and learn so much about, the evolution of contact centers, your presentation in the fall at the Customer Service Revolution, which is November 8th and 9th in Cleveland, and all the things that 5-star call centers bring. I appreciate you. I appreciate whenever we refer one of our consulting clients to you, they thank us and are more loyal to us for the introduction. So I really appreciate you being on this and you being a part of our just family of great partners in this space.
Yeah, I agree, John. We're really looking forward to it. The pandemic got in the way of the last couple of customer service revolutions, but we're excited to be there, and always great to just chat with people that want to provide great customer service. And, there's never any shortage of conversation and learning that goes on during that week. So looking forward.
Yeah, just a lot of great, just such a community of people that really care about the internal and external experience, which 5-star call centers do very, very well. So thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Revolutionaries, for another episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast, and we will see you next week.
We appreciate your reviews. Please be sure to share your comments and let us know what you're enjoying most on the podcast. And to hear more episodes, be sure to subscribe now on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening and being part of the Customer Service Revolution.